Episode 1. The Storm That Shook the Earth. They rode like thunder, burning the horizon wherever they went. Entire kingdoms vanished beneath their hooves. To the terrified eyes of the 13th century world, the Mongols were not men. They were a storm sent by God himself. They had crushed China, Persia, and Baghdad. No army, no fortress, no prayer seemed strong enough to stop them. And as the dust of the East darkened the skies of the Middle East, the fate of civilization itself hung by a thread. But this story isn't about the Mongols. It's about the ones who dared to stand against them. The Mamluks, former slaves who rose from bondage to become kings. And it begins not on the battlefield, but in the slave markets of Cairo. The Mamluks were warriors bought as boys, torn from their homelands, and trained with ruthless precision to fight, ride, and die for their masters. Yet through discipline and faith, they transformed their chains into swords. They learned the art of loyalty, of patience, of waiting for their moment. And when that moment came, they seized it. Their leader was Sultan Saif al-Din Kutu, a man forged by betrayal and fire. Once a slave, he rose through the ranks with quiet brilliance and relentless courage. When the Mongols destroyed Baghdad, the jewel of Islam, the entire Muslim world trembled. City after city fell. The Mongol general Kitbuka, brother-in-arms of Hulagu Khan, advanced west with the same unstoppable fury that had crushed empires. Syria, Aleppo, Damascus, all burned. Then came the letter. A message from Hulagu Khan to Cairo, demanding submission. Kutus gathered his council. The letter was read aloud. Submit to us. Resist, and you shall be destroyed as were others before you. The hall went silent. No one dared breathe. Then Kutus stood up, eyes burning like fire. He ordered the envoys to be executed and their heads displayed on the gates of Cairo. It was madness, or the birth of defiance. For the first time in history, someone had told the Mongols no, and so Egypt prepared for war. Blacksmiths forged weapons day and night. Messengers rode across deserts summoning warriors. At the same time, another man, calm, calculating, and deadly, was called back from exile. Baibars, a general of unmatched cunning, known for reading battlefields like open books. Together, Kutus and Baibars would form the heart of an army built not on numbers, but on unbreakable will. Lesson 1. Greatness often comes from the unlikeliest beginnings. The Mamluks were born as slaves, yet through discipline and vision, they became liberators. Your circumstances do not define you, your response to them does. Like Kutus, you can turn captivity into power and fear into purpose. But destiny was not done testing them. Because as the Mamluks marched north toward Palestine, the Mongols were already waiting, a storm of steel and fire. And what happened next would change the world forever. If you thought that was intense, wait until you see how the Mamluks faced the unstoppable Mongol army in Episode 2, where courage met cunning on the battlefield of Ain Jalut. Episode 2. The Gathering Storm. The sun rose over the plains of Palestine like a blade of fire. The air trembled with the sound of distant hooves. The Mongols were coming. Dust clouds rolled over the horizon, blotting out the light. The Mamluks, vastly outnumbered, stood in silence, their armor gleaming beneath the morning sun. Every man knew what this meant. No retreat, no mercy, no second chance. Kutus rode before his men, his voice clear and strong. Today, he declared, we fight not for power, not for gold, but for the soul of the world. Behind us lies Cairo, our families, our faith, our future. If we fall, the world will burn. The Mongol general Kitbuka was no ordinary enemy. A fierce commander and a Christian of Nestorian faith, he was utterly loyal to Hulagu Khan. He believed this was his divine mission, to complete the Mongol conquest where even Genghis Khan had stopped. His scouts reported the Mamluks' position near a valley called Ain Jalut, the spring of Goliath. The irony was not lost on anyone. This was where David had slain Goliath. History was about to echo itself. But Kutus and Baibars had a secret. They had studied the Mongols, their patterns, their psychology, their arrogance. The Mongols' strength was also their weakness. They always charged straight into battle, overwhelming their enemies by sheer terror. So Baibars proposed a trap. His plan was simple but deadly. He would lead the vanguard to provoke Kitbuka into an attack. When the Mongols charged, the Mamluks would feign retreat, drawing them deep into the narrow valley where Kutuz and his main force lay hidden. Kutuz agreed. That night, as the campfires flickered under a cold wind, Baibars sharpened his sword and whispered to his soldiers, "Tomorrow we fight for all that we have lost, and all that we might still save." At dawn, the Mamluk vanguard clashed with the Mongols. Arrows blackened the sky. The ground shook as horses thundered forward. Baibars and his men retreated, deliberately, leaving a trail of dust and broken shields. Kitbuka roared in triumph and ordered a full pursuit. The Mongols followed, straight into the trap. Lesson 2. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it through strategy. When facing a stronger force, wisdom can outmatch power. Like Baibars, true leaders turn fear into foresight, using the enemy's strength against them. But as the Mongols entered the valley of Ain Jalut, they didn't know they were riding into history's jaws. If you thought that was thrilling, wait until you see Episode 3, when the trap is sprung and the unthinkable happens. Episode 3. The Trap of Ain Jalut. The Mongols thundered into the valley, confident of another victory. They had crushed armies 10 times this size. What could a band of ex-slaves possibly do? But as they advanced deeper into the gorge, something changed. The echoes grew louder, the air heavier. The narrow cliffs around them seemed to whisper. Then, silence. And in that silence came the scream of a horn. From the hillsides, Mamluk war drums erupted like thunder. Hidden troops poured down from every direction, steel flashing in the sunlight. Arrows rained from above, slicing through the Mongol ranks. Confusion rippled through their formation. They had been outmaneuvered. Baibars struck first, leading a furious charge that split the Mongol vanguard. The Mongols, disoriented and furious, tried to rally. Kitbuka shouted, "We are the sons of Genghis! Stand and fight!" The valley became chaos, men screaming, horses falling, dust and blood mingling in the air. But the Mamluks fought like men possessed. Each one remembered the burning of Baghdad, the slaughter of innocents, the humiliation of their people. Every sword stroke was vengeance, every cry was freedom. Still, the Mongols fought back with terrifying ferocity. They began to regroup, pushing the Mamluks back step by step. For a moment it seemed the trap would fail. Kutuz saw his lines falter. And then, in a moment that would echo through centuries, the Sultan removed his helmet, raised his sword, and shouted, "O Islam! O warriors of God, charge!" He rode straight into battle himself. His courage reignited the army. The Mamluks surged forward with renewed fury. The Mongols, stunned by this defiance, began to break. Kitbuka fought to the end, refusing to retreat. Surrounded, he was captured. His last words defiant. "There is no defeat for the sons of Genghis." By nightfall, the battlefield was silent. The invincible Mongol army had been destroyed. Lesson 3. Leadership means leading from the front. When everything falls apart, true leaders do not hide behind their ranks. They stand where it's hardest, because courage is contagious. The Mongols had fallen, the impossible had happened. Yet victory was only the beginning, for within Cairo, betrayal was already brewing. If you thought the battle was over, wait until you hear how victory turned into betrayal in Episode 4, and how the hero paid the ultimate price. Episode 4. The Betrayal of Victory. The bells of Cairo rang in triumph. News spread like wildfire. The Mongols, destroyers of empires, had been defeated. Across the Islamic world, people celebrated Kutuz and his army as saviors. The unthinkable had been done. The tide of history had turned. But power, like victory, is a dangerous thing. As the Mamluk army marched home, a shadow crept among them. Jealousy, ambition, old grudges. Baibars, the brilliant general who had crafted the battle plan, felt sidelined. He believed he should lead the Mamluks, not Kutuz, and others whispered the same. When the army stopped to rest near the town of al-Salihiyah, Baibars asked to speak privately with the Sultan. It was an innocent invitation, or so it seemed. Kutuz dismounted his horse, smiling. "What is it, my friend?" Baibars bowed. Then suddenly, steel flashed. A dagger plunged into Kutuz's chest. The man who had saved a civilization fell to the ground, betrayed by his own comrade. The desert wind carried his last words. Forgive him, for the sake of Egypt. Baibars took the throne soon after, becoming Sultan himself. And to history's strange credit, he ruled wisely, expanding the Mamluk Empire, defending it against Crusaders and Mongols alike. Under his reign, Egypt entered a golden age of science, architecture, and trade. Yet the stain of betrayal never left his legacy. Lesson 4. Even victory cannot protect you from envy. The higher you rise, the more shadows gather around you. Guard your circle. Loyalty is rarer than gold, and sometimes the cost of greatness is trust betrayed. The Battle of Ain Jalut was over, but its echoes shaped the destiny of nations for centuries. It wasn't just a military triumph. It was proof that no empire, no matter how mighty, is invincible. If you thought betrayal ended the story, wait until Episode 5, where we reveal the lasting legacy of Ain Jalut and the 5 lessons it holds for all of us today. Episode 5. The legacy that changed the world centuries have passed, yet the dust of Ain Jalut still drifts through time. The valley where iron met faith became more than a battlefield. It became a lesson carved into the bones of history. For in that narrow gorge of Palestine, the course of the entire world shifted. Had the Mongols won, there might have been no Cairo, no Damascus, no Mecca left to speak of. But because a few thousand men refused to kneel, civilization itself survived. After Qutuz's death, Sultan Baibars ascended the throne, carrying both the guilt of betrayal and the weight of victory. He rebuilt what the Mongols had destroyed, restoring trade routes, fortifying borders, and turning Cairo into a beacon of art, science, and faith. The Mongols, once the terror of the earth, never again crossed into Egypt. The unstoppable had been stopped. And for the first time, the world learned that empires, no matter how vast, could bleed. But the deeper story of Ain Jalut is not about armies. It's about the resilience of the human spirit. The Mamluks were men without families, without countries, stripped of freedom. Yet they built a new destiny. They were living proof that out of brokenness can rise the strongest steel. Every sword they carried was forged not just from metal, but from memory and faith. Generations later, historians still study their tactics, how Baibars used feigned retreat and terrain mastery, how Qutuz inspired through presence rather than fear. But what endures beyond the strategy is the courage to stand when the world says you cannot. That same spirit built nations, fueled revolutions, and still whispers in the hearts of anyone who dares to defy their limits. Let's reflect on the 5 lessons that echo from this battlefield. Lesson 1. Greatness often comes from the unlikeliest beginnings. The Mamluks began as slaves, but they rewrote history. Never underestimate humble beginnings. They are often destiny's disguise. Lesson 2. Courage means using wisdom over strength. Baibars taught that victory isn't about size or power. It's about knowing when to act, when to wait, and how to think like your enemy. Lesson 3. Leadership means standing where it's hardest. Qutuz rode into battle himself. His courage ignited thousands. True leadership is not command, it's example. Lesson 4. Guard your heart against envy. Victory can make you powerful, but power can make you blind. Protect your integrity. Without it, even a hero can become a villain. Lesson 5. Faith and unity can conquer fear. When the Mamluks fought together under one cause, they shattered the myth of Mongol invincibility. Unity multiplies strength. Division destroys it. Today, Ain Jalut reminds us that history is not written by destiny, but by decision. Every generation faces its own Mongols. Fear, chaos, uncertainty. But as long as courage rides beside purpose, hope never dies. From Cairo's golden domes to the silent plains of Palestine, the spirit of those warriors still lives in everyone who refuses to surrender. If you find this video adding value to your life in any way, please take a moment and subscribe and like. And if you want to go further, write one word in the comments: value. It helps with the algorithm so other people who need inspiration can find it. It's free, and it's a way to give back to me. Thank you for being part of this journey through time. Because the battles of history are not just about swords and kings, they are about us and the choices we make every day. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you.